the second race of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup is just a few minutes away. The first race earlier on today saw a titanic four-car fight for the race victory that went right down to the wire. We're anticipating more of the same now in this, the final race of what has been a sensational day of racing here at the Silverstone 500 race meeting on the magnificent Grand Prix layout. The first race today was won by our fifth different winner of the season, Mark Wakefield, getting the better of that four-car fight, but it's a partially reversed grid for race two. So Rob Allen was the man picked out of the hat, and he starts from pole position with Tony Prendergast alongside. Simon Walton and Martin Depper are next, ahead of Owen Walton and Mark Wakefield, the top two from that previous race. Russell Joyce in the Golf has been a steady points scorer this year. He lines up 7th ahead of Jack Depper, the son of Martin. Then it's Mark Steele and Jeff Oldham to round out the top 10. Jeff had a spin in the opening race down at this part of the circuit at Vale. Matt Evans and Richard Gilbert are next, then Michael Jones and Lewis Smith. Getting towards the back of the grid now, Josh Coggan hopefully will be out there. Josh had an interesting race. His car was steaming on the grid, then got going and seemed to be running at full pace, and then pulled into the pit lane to retirement with lots of oil appearing to leak out of the front of it. But I can see the all-white Golf at the back of the grid, and everything does appear to be all right for the number 12 machine, which is good news because Coggan arrived here at Silverstone very much as a championship contender. He had a race victory earlier on in the season, had Josh Coggan, and he was turning into one of the favourites. Yeah, he won the first race at Snetterton last time out, and was keen to try and repeat that. Martin Depper it was who led the championship, arriving here at Silverstone by just 2 points over Josh Coggan. While Coggan didn't finish, Depper finished the first race in third, but Owen Walton was second, and Owen was only 8 points off the championship lead. So he's been able to take some points out of his big rival. There is Coggan, the DW Racing machine, the team by Darrell Wilson, who was a former star of this championship as well in his diesel Scirocco. Made a guest appearance back in that car at the season opener at Alton Park. So through the final turn they will come. There's Mark Wakefield, the race 1 winner, working his way through. There's Russell Joyce, who was 4th in the points coming into this weekend. I think he held on to that 4th position just about after finishing 7th in the previous race. Rob Allen there was in the mix early on and had a rather odd moment where I think he got into the lead halfway around the opening lap, and then the car just didn't seem to accelerate out of the corner, slowed down, dropped him outside the top 10, and then he never really seemed to have any further issues throughout the rest of the race, worked his way back up and eventually finished in 6th position, getting past Russell Joyce on the last lap. So Rob now gets another opportunity to try and get a victory. If he can do it, it will be his 3rd podium of the year. The blue and grey car, that is. There you can see number 89 lining up in pole position, but he would become the 6th different winner of the season so far. Brett Smith, Owen Walton, Josh Coggan, Martin Depper and Mark Wakefield have all won 1 race apiece. So there are still plenty of drivers at the sharp end who could win. Allen is one of them. Simon Walton from 3rd place on the grid is another. And Russell Joyce also looking for his first victory, lining up 7th, but as we've seen in many races in the past in this championship, grid positions aren't actually all that significant when it comes to the end result. Lights out then, the final race of the day is underway. Not a great start made by Owen Walton there, so he will lose ground immediately on the run to the first corner. Rob Allen, though, will lead them through Copse Corner for the first time with Prendergast 2nd. That's the number 9 car of Simon Walton round the outside in 3rd, Martin Depper 4th, so they're in grid order for the top 4. Side by side, I think, possibly for 5th position, with Mark Wakefield there trying to get past Owen Walton. He can't quite do it. The top 6 or 7, in fact, stay in grid order as they head through Maggots and Beckett's for the first time of asking. And there, the fight for 2nd position. Then Tony Prendergast, the black and fluorescent yellow machine. That's Owen Walton running out wide, and Mark Wakefield's up the inside. Now, this battle that these two had for the victory this morning was sensational, and it was fascinating as well to see where they each had their different strengths and weaknesses. There's no doubt the TT, a more slippery-shaped car, is good in a straight line. There you see he pulls clear of Mark Wakefield, but with the balanced performance in this championship, the extra weight that the Audi has to carry means that through the corners, it's not quite as good. That's not slowing down Simon Walton, though, who just outbraked Tony Prendergast around the outside at Stowe Corner, and Rob Allam in exactly the same part of the circuit where he slowed in race 1. He's slowed again from the race lead, and Simon Walton locks up and goes straight on. So Prendergast was down to third, 5 seconds ago, is now back into the lead of the race. Simon Walton second, Martin Depper's trying to get up the inside of the third, but what on earth is going on with Rob Allam's car? It doesn't seem to like Stowe Corner on the opening lap, because that's twice now, 2 races in a row, an identical issue that has taken him out of the race lead. This time around, it's only cost him, I think, 5 or 6 places. He's still in the lead pack, but that is still costly. He's lost all of that track position and will have to work hard over the remainder of the race to try and get it back. Down towards the braking zone they go. There he is, the blue and grey car on the inside line. Mark Wakefield, the race 1 winner, is the man right in front of him. Allam thinks about going up the inside, gets a nerf from Lewis Smith, gets another tap midway through the corner. Lewis Smith himself is working his way through from 14th on the grid, the grey and white Scirocco, after not finishing the previous race, and he's now trying to get up the inside of Russell Joyce. So this is the usual, rather entertaining and chaotic start to a VW Racing Cup race, but this is why it's a very popular championship with the spectators, lots of whom have stayed around to the end of the day. Rob Allam there, losing a place to Russell Joyce, tried to turn in, but Lewis Smith was there, and then Josh Coggan, and Russell Joyce is slow as well. And Allam is sideways, and Josh Coggan's up the inside. He's going to get 1, he's going to get 2, he's getting into the side of Russell Joyce's car, though. Coggan needs to get on with this, but he needs to be careful not to damage that car. He's had 1 non-finish today. He can little afford another, because that will drop him way down in the championship order. He's up the inside of Joyce, though. I think he's managed to go through. And, yeah, Josh Coggan classified 7th then at the end of lap number 1 of racing. The order, Prendergast leads the way by 8/10 of a second from Walton of the Simon variety in 2nd position. Martin Depper is 3rd, 4th place for Owen Walton, 5th Mark Wakefield, 6th Lewis Smith, and 7th place for Josh Coggan. So in the end, Rob Allam ended up down in 9th place, but not all of those places were lost when he slowed at Stowe Corner. I think he lost out again, didn't he, down at the end of the lap. There through the right-hander goes number 7, which is Matt Evans, similarly liveried car to that of the race leader, which was why I paused. In fact, identically liveried car, I'd go as far as to say. And but it is Prendergast definitely still leading the way. And actually, in the first sector, only 2/10 slower than Walton behind him. Rob Allam trying to get up the inside there of Jack Depper, and then behind, number 2 is Richard Gilbert, number 7, Matthew Evans, that we just mentioned, who runs a bit wide. Now, Mark Wakefield is having to defend from Lewis Smith, who was a front-runner in the early stages of race 1 before his retirement. And the Smith Motorsport self-run Scirocco not quite able to get through there, but this is for 5th position as they head on to the new pit straight and into Abbey Corner. Now, race leaders again matching each other through the middle sector. Early days in this race, though, I guess, so Simon Walton might be just biding his time. Through the left-hander at Village, here comes Lewis Smith trying to find a way alongside Mark Wakefield, goes to the outside line. The Scirocco again will have different strengths and weaknesses than the Golf, and there is success ballast to factor into this championship as well. So Wakefield, after his win earlier on this morning, will now be carrying success ballast for race 2. And that will potentially be explaining why he's not quite got the electrifying speed that we saw from him in the previous race. Lewis Smith, though, of course, will be running ballast-free after the non-finish that he had in race number 1. Wakefield having to defend there. The Scirocco a bit quicker in a straight line anyway, maybe. Goes to the outside line. It can break later as well with no ballast, but that's a bit too late, I think, for Lewis Smith. Can he get through the corner? Wakefield's going to try and fight back on the outside into Luffield, but there's no way to do it. And sensibly, Wakefield doesn't try and fight it too hard. Former mini challenge racer Mark Wakefield, so he knows all about cut and thrust one-make racing. One of the great things about the VW Racing Cup, though, is that it is a one-make series. One-make in that all of the cars have to be under the VAG banner, and indeed one of the non-VWs, but still VAG Audi TTs of Simon Walton taking over the race lead into Copse Corner. He's a bit wide on the exit, though, so Prendergast will try and fight back, and again the Scirocco is not slow in a straight line, side-by-side to Maggots, but Walton goes through. So Simon Walton out in front as they clip the grass through Beckett's corner. He's a bit scrappy through there, though, and Prendergast thinking about fighting back. We've got Martin Depper as well in there, though, and the championship leader is now into 2nd position as they all start to stack up behind the leading 2, who were so preoccupied with each other, I think they forgot about Martin Depper behind them. Owen Walton is 4th still, with Lewis Smith 5th, Wakefield fading in 6th with that ballast, and 7th place now for Josh Coggan. Owen Walton to the outside line then, trying to take 3rd place away from Prendergast, but can't quite do it. Prendergast's best finish coming into this weekend was a 3rd. He had a podium at Snetterton in the opening race before finishing 7th place, I believe it was, in race number 2, and now Owen Walton's up the inside of him, and he's into 3rd, and Lewis Smith finds himself, well, off the road, so too did Owen Walton, though, in fairness, through the middle part of Club, and Smith's wide again. Now, you will get pinged for exceeding track limits if you keep doing that. We've seen already number 24, Lewis Smith, being given the black and white warning flag for exceeding track limits, and he's just done it twice more in the space of 1 corner, so wouldn't be at all surprised if there is a 5-second time penalty coming his way. He's gained the position for now and goes up into, what's that, 4th position now. Through Village and the Loop. I'll finish my point now about what I was trying to say at the start, and I won't, because there's battle for the race lead starting to develop, and Mark Wakefield's up the inside of Tony Prendergast. You don't really get a moment to breathe in VW Racing Cup Championship racing, because there is just so much going on. It's non-stop action. The point I was trying to make is that whilst this is a one-make championship, sort of, you still get great variety, different shapes and sizes with the Scirocco's and the Golfs and the Audis, and in theory Seats would be eligible to race as well. There's a balanced performance that makes sure that it's a level playing field before you start throwing success ballast at various cars, and you do get to, unlike in many one-make championships, things like the Mini Challenge, for example, where every car is identical, and so the driver makes all of the difference. Here, the driver learns how to take advantage of various strengths and weaknesses around the track, and that is important because for most of the top tiers of motorsport, it's not one-make. There are different cars and different shapes and sizes out there that all have different things they excel at, and different things maybe where they have slight weaknesses. Through Maggots and Beckett's then come the 2 low-slung cars, the Audi TTRS of Simon Walton, the Volkswagen Scirocco of Martin Depper, which looks to the inside line. Martin looking to become the first double winner of the season. Behind them, Lewis Smith was going for 3rd place around the outside of Owen Walton. Did that work? Well, they're still side by side as they head onto the Hangar Straight. Josh Coggan, look, in the background is ahead of Mark Wakefield, so he's into 6th position now. It's all continuing to chop and change. I've got one eye definitely on Josh Coggan's white VW Golf, though, which is starting now to make its presence felt towards the very front of the field. Lewis Smith is into 3rd, but he's on 3 wheels because he's braked so late into Stowe Corner, but he's able to hook up some traction on the outside and move through into P3. Lewis Smith has not won a race yet this year either. Had a 2nd place at Snetterton last time out. As for the race lead, it is Martin Depper that goes through. Simon Walton scrappy through Vale and Club, and Depper has got into the race lead, and in fact Walton's slow again out of Club Corner. Looks like he's lost quite a lot of momentum there, and so Lewis Smith will try to get to the inside into Abbey Corner. This is a brave place to try and make a move. Gets himself to the apex first. Walton has to leave him room, which means that he runs out onto the marbles, but they're both in the end just sort of holding each other up, really. Smith to the outside of Village, significantly later on the brakes. Again, Lewis Smith not carrying any ballast in this race. Goes around the outside through the right-hander. He's off the road again. He's got the inside line for the left-hander at the loop, but he's going to sail straight on. He was never going to get the car stopped. And the man who's already been warned for exceeding track limits is very much exceeding them again through the loop. He rejoins still in 3rd, just ahead of Tony Prendergast and Owen Walton. But that may have just handed this one to Martin Depper. We've still got just over half the race to go, but the grey and yellow number 33 VW Scirocco is out in front, as I said, looking to become the first double winner of the season. We've got Simon Walton and Lewis Smith and Tony Prendergast all in this lead bunch, all looking for their first victories of the year. Right now, Depper out in front is going to be tough to beat, I think. Of course, Martin arrived here with quite a lot of success ballast because he won the 2nd race at Snetterton and was the championship leader. So that's why his race 1 result was not as good as he would have hoped, but he was still 3rd, and he's a canny racer, is Martin Depper. And even when he's not the fastest driver out there, he seems to be able, or the fastest car out there, I should say, he seems to be able to pick up a good result. Bit of damage there, I think, to the front of Josh Coggan's car, I spotted, but he was still trying to make a move and has made a move now at the expense of Mark Wakefield. So Wakefield, I'm sure Coggan was ahead of Wakefield a lap ago, and Mark's maybe found a way back through, but the new generation Golf, you can see the front splitter there is very much dragging on the ground, and it's slow out of Chapel, so Wakefield will come back through. There's a surprise. Lewis Smith's been handed a 5-second penalty for exceeding the track limits. Not maybe the most shocking piece of news we've received all day, but Lewis Smith, therefore, you can take him out, unfortunately, of the 3rd place on the road in which he's running. 5 seconds with a field as closely bunched as this could drop him well outside the top half dozen or so, maybe even down to about 8th place. So the team will let him know about that. He will be fully aware of the situation right now, though. He's still attacking for second place. Mark Wakefield there is trying to take advantage of a mistake for Josh Coggan, who's over the curbs, and Wakefield's going to go around the outside of him, and Rob Allen, I don't quite know where he's going, will rejoin even further behind them now than he was. Oh, Coggan into the back of Russell Joyce. Club corner is not a place you want to be making contact, but Josh Coggan getting his elbows out will be a bit frustrated here. He's got no ballast, he's coming from the back of the grid, there's been all sorts of carnage in front of him, but he's not really been able to take full advantage of it. Joyce is off the road again though, as they go through Abbey. Coggan goes through, and Rob Allen might try and get past him as well. Coggan's super late on the brakes, can't get the car stopped though. Rob Allen will get past him, and Jack Depper there, the black and yellow car, will try and get through as well. Jeff Holden up the inside, there was inevitable contact, and Jack Depper gets fired off the road, and Allen will go through. A discussion inevitable, I think, between those two, and maybe even the clerk of the course after the race. Russell Joyce tries to get past Holden, can't do it, loses momentum. Jack Depper gets the run on him again. This is typical VW Racing Cup action here. You don't know where to look next. There are battles up and down the order, and because they're not the most powerful of cars, they're proper racing cars, but they're not all that powerful, so all of these side-by-side and indeed sideways moments are significantly holding everybody up. It stacks the field up and then creates more chaos usually. So a fair bit of bumping and boring there in that little group. And what has been the end result? Well, Martin Depper now enjoys a 1.6 second lead over Simon Walton in second. Third place on the road is Lewis Smith, but with a 5-second penalty already for exceeding track limits, and still a third of the race to go, so he'll have to really be careful now with track limits for the remainder of the race. Owen Walton is fourth, Tony Prendergast fifth, sixth place is Mark Wakefield then at the end of that lap, then seventh position for Rob Allen, eighth Josh Coggan, ninth Russell Joyce, and 10th Jeff Holden. Right, I've taken my eyes off the screen for a good 10 seconds, so something must have changed. This is the fight between Owen Walton and Lewis Smith. So yes, it has changed. Walton is now third on the road. He was already third, really, on corrected times with Smith's penalty, and Smith now almost bailing out of this one because Prendergast's going to drive past him as well down the Hanger Straight. Black and white warning flag now being handed out to Matthew Evans, although he's running down in 12th position. Not a penalty as yet, but a warning that if he exceeds track limits again, a 5-second penalty will be his as well. Down into Village, Vale, excuse me, where Mark Wakefield's next task is to try and hang on to 6th position from Rob Allen. Oh, and that's why Lewis Smith was fading. The car looks like it's overheating. There's a lot of steam coming from the front of the car. I can't see any fluid trickling down underneath, so I don't think it's engine related as such. I think it's engine related in that the engine's too hot, but I don't think it's an engine blow up. That was a fairly gradual fading of pace. Here's a replay of everything that happened a lap ago when Josh Coggan went wide at Village, then tried to fight his way back in line. Jeff Holden didn't brake until far too late into the loop. Jack Depper closed the door, there was contact, Russell Joyce got up the inside as well, and in the end, Depper, having lost ground at one corner, then takes advantage of the side-by-side battling in front of him through Aintree to get back up the inside again, down the back straight. Right, race leaders then. It was Martin Depper who had a 1.6 second lead at the start of this 6th lap of the race. In the first sector, they matched each other. In the second sector, Depper was quicker. And in third sector, though, he was 4/10 slower than Walton. So Walton has caught him overall on this lap. Rob Allen is now past Mark Wakefield for what is now 5th place with the demise of Lewis Smith. So Wakefield, again, just solidly picking up the points here, really. Had it not been for a 10th place finish, for a non-finish, excuse me, in the first round at Alton Park, Wakefield would most definitely have been up there fighting for the championship lead, because he's not been out of the top 5 since. Had a 4th in race 2, 2 5th places at Snetterton, and a win earlier on this morning. So if he can get another top 5, then, or even a top 6 would do him, really. That would be some solid championship point scoring, especially with people like Josh Coggan struggling a bit. Josh is still down in 7th place. Martin Depper is really going to be the big winner here. And Owen Walton, I guess, in 3rd place. Depper is going to, if things finish as they are now, actually extend his points lead. The lead gap, by the way, did come down by about half a second. So Depper to Walton just over 1.1 seconds now. This is the fight for 3rd. Owen Walton and Tony Prendergast. At the end of sector 1, the gap is 4/10 of a second. At the start of the lap, it was nearly 6/10 of a second. So Prendergast using the slipstream down the Hanger Straight to close in on the Audi, which drifts a bit wide. We saw struggling a little bit for handling ability in the previous race compared to the Golfs and the Sirocco's. Now with some success ballast applied, Owen Walton struggling even more. He's got the success ballast for finishing 2nd in race 1. So he's doing a good job, really, to hang on to this third place ahead of Prendergast, who was only 5th. So I think we'll have a bit of ballast, but not a huge amount. Rob Allen, the blue and grey car, in 5th, Wakefield 6th, Coggan fading again in 7th. And all is not quite right, I don't think, with that Golf. His lap times all of a sudden have started to fade to the point that he was 2.5 seconds off his previous best lap last time around. The man in 7th place, number 12, Josh Coggan. So I wonder whether or not he started to see maybe a return of the issue he had in race 1, and perhaps he's going to try and just coax the car home, because as we've made the point with a few others having difficulties in this race, if he can just salvage a top 7 or 8 finish, it's at least some points. Back down the Wellington straight they go then. Rob Allen flashing the lights there at the cars in front, hoping to force a mistake out of Tony Prendergast, who is busy in turn trying to force one out of Owen Walton. Through Luffield corner there, the black and grey and fluorescent yellow number 5 of Prendergast going on to what will now be the penultimate lap of the race. Rob Allen a bit wide through Luffield, and I wondered for a moment whether or not the similar Golf of Mark Wakefield might be about to take advantage of that, but Mark, with all of that weight certainly hurting his pace in this race, isn't quite able to apply the pressure into Copse corner. There's Prendergast then through the first turn. The lead gap out to 2.6 seconds that time around, so Depper getting away now most definitely from Simon Walton 2nd, Owen Walton 3rd, Tony Prendergast 4th, Rob Allen 5th, Mark Wakefield still rounding out the top 6. Lewis Smith, the only retirement in the race at the moment, had set the fastest lap earlier on, a 1:23.458, which was actually within about 1/10 of a second of Josh Coggan's fastest lap from the previous race, so strong speed being shown by Lewis Smith while it lasted, but things got a bit too hot under the bonnet, and he is, unfortunately, a retirement in this one. Down to the right-hander at Stowe Corner comes this fight for 3rd. Prendergast applying the pressure, but not really looking all that likely to find a way past Owen Walton for the time being. Prendergast's best finish, let me remind myself, yes, was that podium last time out, so this will be his 2nd top 5 finish of the year. He'd like to make it his 2nd podium finish of the year, though, of course. Cars 2 and 12 being warned for track limits. 2 is Richard Gilbert running down in 13th place, but 12 is Josh Coggan significantly in 7th. So to add to his concerns, he's now being warned for exceeding track limits. I wonder whether or not that's maybe adding to his lack of pace, as he just tries to make sure that he doesn't exceed the track limits and get a really wholly unnecessary penalty. Owen Walton really had to cut across to defend into Village that time. Tony Prendergast trying to get to the inside. Now Prendergast will have the much wider line into the loop. He'll try and turn in, but yes, Owen Walton saw that coming a mile off and just stopped on the apex to halt the progress of Prendergast, who was trying to get the wide line in and the tight line out. Onto the Wellington straight for the penultimate time. That's just bunched this group of 4 cars together again now, though. It's the Audi ahead of the Scirocco, ahead of the 2 Golfs behind. The Audi may be starting to fade a bit. We said in race 1 that the cars that are carrying the weight, not only are they slower through the corners, but they will chew up their tyres, they'll overheat their brakes a bit more than the lighter cars, because those components are working harder to get the cars around the corners, and there are lots of corners on this 3.66 mile Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Down to Copse they will go, and no move made on this occasion. Then final lap of the race, final lap of the day begins. It's been another really entertaining encounter, this, from the VW Racing Cup. And Martin Depper looks as though he's going to take the victory. He was 6/10 slower, though, than Owen Walton than Simon Walton on the previous lap. The way that these championship races tend to go, I'm not handing this one to Martin Depper just yet. Rob Allen here is trying to sneak up an extra position or 2 on the last lap as well. He's in 5th at the moment, which would be a solid result for Rob. He's had a couple of podiums, but then a non-finish at Snetterton last time out. And this mysterious issue that he's had all day long in both races, and that has cost him a chance of a victory when he arguably might have had the pace to win either of these races. Certainly get on the podium, but it doesn't look like the podium will beckon for him. Frustratingly, though, for Rob, he's within touching distance almost of a top 3. As Prendergast and Walton, look, are not far in front. Owen Walton there in the 3rd place. Through Vale, through Club, and who gets the better exit from here? Mark Wakefield does, is the answer, and he gets on the inside of Rob Allam here. This is 5th position, and Mark Wakefield, whilst he would have been, I think, quite happy to take the points for 6th position, sort of had no choice there but to try and attack. He's on the inside line again into Abbey Corner, fully committed here, and he's going to go through, so Allam will have to give the place away. And Wakefield gets himself into the 5th position now. Allam will try and fight back though, later under braking on the inside line at Village, locks up, sails straight on. Wakefield tries to get back alongside with the next corner's left-hander, and Allam is surely going to fight back again. Watch for another switchback manoeuvre though. Wakefield hops over the curb, gets on the throttle, he's got the inside for Aintree, and they'll run wheel to wheel now down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands Corner for the final time, so it's going to be side by side most definitely for 5th position. The lead gap, by the way, has been coming down again on this lap slightly in the first half of the lap, but not towards the end of it. It looks as though Martin Depper, there he is, the man of the moment, number 30, is going to take the race victory here. He will become the first double winner of the season. He took his first race victory last time out in the second race at Snetterton, and he wins race 2 at Silverstone as well to extend his championship lead. And a really classy drive that was from Martin Depper. Simon Walton comes home second, Owen Walton is third, fourth for Tony Prendergast, and 5th is Rob Allam. In the end, he manages to fend off Mark Wakefield, who I don't think really wanted to take too many risks there. Josh Coggan is 7th with, I'm convinced, some sort of a problem. Russell Joyce comes home in 8th position. Richard Gilbert has joined the VW car park down at, I think that's Abbey Corner potentially, with Lewis Smith's car, which expired earlier on. Jack Depper comes home 9th, and Matthew Evans rounds out the top 10. But Martin Depper, your first double winner, and suitably enough, he is the championship leader then, leaving Silverstone. It's been a really, really good season for Martin Depper so far. 4th and 2nd at Alton Park, a slightly disappointing 8th place at Snetterton in race 1, but the success ballast he was carrying certainly had something to do with that. And then the victory in race 2, a solid 3rd place this morning, and a win again here this afternoon. And Martin Depper, the former British Touring Car Championship competitor, is looking like the form man this season, but Owen Walton will push him hard. Owen with another good podium place there, 3rd position for Owen. Both of the Waltons, in fact, are on the podium. Now, I think I asked the question in race 1 as to whether that had happened yet this year. Simon Walton's had 1 podium finish, which was the season opener at Alton Park, a race in which Owen Walton was 5th. So no, that's the first time this year that both of the Waltons have shared the podium between them. So, good day for the Audis, a circuit that always was likely to suit the very slippery Audi TT. First race was won by Golf, though, Mark Wakefield, which is the slowest, I would say, of the 3 cars in a straight line. The Golf, the Scirocco and the Audi, as we said, all have different strengths, but certainly straight line speed is not the Golf's forte. So Mark Wakefield, that makes that race 1 performance all the more impressive. Depper with a good second race here, and pull out a healthy points advantage now. So he makes his way back towards the pit lane. Let's have confirmation then of our final race result of the day for the VW Racing Cup. 2.2 seconds in the end, the winning margin for Martin Depper. Simon Walton was 2nd, Owen Walton 3rd, Tony Prendergast and Rob Allam to round out the top 5. Mark Wakefield was 6th, Josh Coggan 7th, but faded towards the end. Russell Joyce 8th, Jack Depper in 9th position, and Matt Evans 10th. Mark Steele, Jeff Alden, Rao 11th and 12th position. Then it was Michael Jones 13th, Richard Gilbert 14th, and except he didn't get to the end. So Richard Gilbert and Lewis Smith, in fact, are our 2 non-finishers from that race. Lewis Smith was on for a 5-second track limits penalty anyway, and then didn't make the finish with a mechanical issue. So Martin Depper then works his way down the pit lane. He's gestured in by the Silverstone Marshal. Again, another shout out to all of the marshals today who have kept things on track, and we've only had the need all day long. With all the racing that we've had, there's only been 1 safety car period all day in the previous Ginetta race. There are the marshals. They're packing up. They're ready to go home. They've been on their feet all day, all weekend probably, and many of them will have been here from as early as Friday, and we applaud all of you, the volunteer marshals, who are some of the best in the world, and they have kept us on course here well and truly at Silverstone in rather miserable conditions yesterday, but more favourable weather today. Martin Depper, well, certainly fortune favouring him this weekend. Simon Walton there 2nd place in the father and son team, both on the podium, and Martin Depper, I think, is congratulating them for that. Oh no, that's Jack Depper. Jack Depper, his son. So a family sport is motorsport, and Martin Depper welcoming his son, Jack Depper, up there as well. Jack Depper came home 9th in that race, so was not a class winner either, so I think he's literally just there to enjoy the moment with the father and son Walton combo, and the Depper senior and junior as well. And it won't be long, I'm sure, before we're talking about Martin and Jack Depper sharing podiums maybe. Martin Depper, a real character though, and it's those kind of people we really enjoy seeing in motor racing. And Martin, who is a very wealthy man, very successful businessman, spends his money, and why shouldn't he, on going motor racing, but no ego whatsoever with Martin. Lovely guy, and a very, very worthy winner of our 6th round of the 2019 VW Racing Cup. There's his son Jack, and he was 9th place finish for Jack. Not his best finish of the year, I don't think. Jack Depper had a best finish of 7th coming into this weekend. He was 8th in this morning's race and 9th today, so a solid top 10 finisher is Jack, and that's always a good sign. That consistent performance is what you look for, really, in the stars of the future. And another nice moment there with the family links in full show in the VW Racing Cup. So Martin Depper now can relax and debrief with his son, who was involved in quite a nice battle in that race with in particular Matthew Evans, who he got the better of for 9th position. Well, it was a very dramatic race, as ever is the case in the VW Racing Cup, and it all kicked off right from the word go, with Rob Allen from pole position leading as far as Stowe Corner, where again the car slowed. Simon Walton got the lead, and then he ran wide straight away, and Tony Prendergast went through. Lewis Smith was in the hunt, so too Josh Coggan, who was working his way up the order in robust fashion, got past the ailing Rob Allen, and then nerfed Russell Joyce wide as well. Lewis Smith, speaking of going wide, got a penalty for exceeding track limits. In the meantime, he was racing with the ballast saddled Mark Wakefield, the race 1 winner. Simon Walton eventually moved through into the race lead, got past Tony Prendergast, and they battled, allowing Martin Depper and Owen Walton to close in. Eventually it was a mistake again down at Vale for Simon Walton. The second time he'd locked up and run wide that corner, and the second time that it had cost him the race lead. Lewis Smith, this is why he got a track limits penalty. He was off the road 3 times in 3 corners, got a penalty, and then unfortunately ran into mechanical issues that took him out of the race anyway. Josh Coggan's race started to unravel. Possible damage from contact earlier on. He was involved in a nice battle with Russell Joyce, and then just behind him, Jack Depper got nerfed sideways by a very aggressive Jeff Alden. Russell Joyce joining in the fun as well. Mark Wakefield and Rob Allen continued their scrap for 5th place, Allen eventually getting the better of him, whilst Martin Depper was a double winner, the first 2-time winner of 2019, and pulls into a clear championship lead now. And he will therefore step onto the top step of the Silverstone podium, overlooking the Heritage pit lane, and Jack Depper making his way up there as well. So, driver of the race, that would appear to be Stuart Lyons, the man behind the VW Racing Cup. These days, TCR UK is there on hand to make the presentation. There, Owen Walton, 3rd position in that race, 2nd place in race number 1. A good points haul for Owen this weekend. Not quite as many as his big championship rival Depper, but a nice moment nonetheless to have both of the Waltons on the podium. And that's the first time that's happened so far this season. Martin Depper, though, is his usual vibrant self as he climbs on top of the Silverstone podium. Winner's trophy and bottle of champagne aloft, and he is a 2-time winner in the 2019 VW Racing Cup, and is going to prove difficult to beat, I think, as we go through the rest of the season. But the way that the BOP works, and particularly this success ballast system, means that winning more than 1 race a weekend is tricky, and when you've got that ballast, it's a job really just to stay out of trouble, which is exactly what Depper was able to do in the previous race. More orchestrated family portraits now with Martin and Jack Depper. This must be a lovely moment, especially here at Silverstone, the home of British motor racing, as part of this Silverstone 500, the RAC Tourist Trophy race weekend. And now the Waltons get their turn on the top step of the podium. Owen and Simon, some nice, really lovely moments there for the 4 drivers on the podium. And Simon Walton is ready and raring to go with the bottle of bubbly. Owen Walton likewise. Now, this will be an interesting little Depper versus Walton battle, and the Waltons are off the line first, but I think that the Depper Senior at least, maybe with the better technique, targets his own son who can't get his bottle open. Oh no, you see, often though, the one that opens the bottle last is able to take advantage of a lack of defence from the others. Yes, it stings when it goes in your eyes, and in the end, sensibly, I think Jack decides to drink it rather than spray it. So great racing then, a great positive way to end the day. It's been a fantastic day of racing here at Silverstone, a dramatic Silverstone 500, the RAC TT Tourist Trophy going the way in the end of the Ram Racing Mercedes squad of Ian Logie and Callum McLeod. The VW Racing Cup providing entertainment, so too the Mini Challenge, British Formula 3 Championship, and Ginetta's various group of championships as well. We thank you for joining us here. We hope you've enjoyed the day's racing, and we hope that you'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the next round of the British GT Championship and its various support categories on the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, the first of 2 visits there this season, ahead of the championship decider in September. Thank you to David Addison, Martin Haven, and David Pittard, who have joined me at various points throughout the day. But for now, from everyone here at Silverstone, we hope you've enjoyed your day's racing, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.